Welcome to Graduate Colloquium on 8 Habits of Highly Successful Researchers. This webinar is co-organized by Institute of Advanced Studies, MAGSC, EEGSC, and MSc GSC. I'm Anup representing the MAGSC, and I will be your host for today's session. I would also like to introduce to you the co-host for this session, Shantanu, representing IEEE and Jensen, representing MSc GSC. Dear friends, we all know that research in this day and age is highly competitive. Thus, it's crucial for researchers to cultivate good habits to stay on track and keep moving forward despite any setbacks. Today's talk focuses on 8 essential habits that successful researchers exhibit throughout their career. This is a subject we should all be deeply interested in because it's by inculcating the essential habits that we can best ensure a successful research career. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce to you all our speaker, Professor Michael Khor. Prof. Khor is currently the Director of Talent Recruitment and Career Support and Bibliometric Analysis at NTU. He has also served as the Director of Research Support Office from 2011 to 2018 and Associate Provost Research from 2009 to 2011. From 2008 to 2009, he was seconded to the National Research Foundation Singapore as Director Projects. His research spans advanced materials processing, thermal spray coating, spark plasma sintering, nanobioceramics, and nanocomposites for artificial corneal implants, orthopedic, and dental implants. Since 2011, he has embarked on research and analysis into research collaboration networks, research topic analysis, development of research performance matrices for universities, and international collaborations of global young universities. He has published more than 400 journals and conference papers and edited several international conference proceedings. But before I start this session, I would also like to tell the participants that if you have any question and answer, you can ask them by raising hand or by typing your question in the question answer box. And if you need attendance endorsement for this seminar, you can also scan the QR code at the end of the seminar. So guys, please join me in welcoming Professor Michael Khor.
Okay, thank you very much, Anup, for your kind introduction. And it's my pleasure to share with you these 8 habits of highly successful researchers. So as Anup has mentioned, I have been studying or at least looking into the careers of successful researcher. It's part of the job here at NTU, where we do annual assessment of the research output of the various schools in NTU. And in the process, I cannot help but to take note of those who are successful and those who are less successful. So I thought some of the points I share with you this afternoon could help you in developing your research career. So I call it 8 habits of highly successful researchers, but I'm sure there will be more, and we should try to keep good habits, as many as possible. Next slide. So the research life cycle and trajectory, it is a tough life, and it's getting tougher for researchers. On the left-hand side, you have the flow for getting grants and doing your research. Basically, applying for grants. But first you must have ideas, you must formulate the plans, and then you apply for grants, and then if unsuccessful, you go back to step 1 again, which is the idea and plans. But if you are successful, then you proceed to award. And then, of course, you need to work on your research project, and there will be a slew of post-award activities. which of course will hopefully results in good publications and presentations at major conferences. And at the end of it, once all the money, or at least most of the money runs out, then it's time for you to write up your report, submit to the grant agencies through the research support office here in NTU, and then begin again. So that's the life cycle for grant. But on the right hand side, you'll see those steps that represents the development of one's career in research. And so, of course, you would have things like recognition. People recognize your work, maybe your papers or your conference presentation, and hopefully over time you gain the reputation for a certain technique or a certain new material that you form, or a certain new methodology to get a better insight into a certain phenomenon. So whatever it is, as long as you are doing good and important work, your reputation should grow internationally. And of course, with that, you'll be invited to serve in various technical committee. You'll be invited to organize conferences, symposiums, and so on. And then obviously, then your influence will grow, not just regionally, but hopefully around the world globally. That, of course, enables you to then enrich your collaboration network. And with that, of course, you have the opportunity to mentor young researchers like where you are now, and hopefully supervise some PhD students and mentor the postdoctoral fellows, and so on. So these are the two sets of activities, as well as progression in one's research career. Uh, Next, so there's an African proverb that says, "Smooth seas do not make skillful sailors." I suppose it's not just limited to Africa; it's everywhere. And it's true. A good life doesn't necessarily make resourceful or capable people. So smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. One has to approach life with a view of wanting to learn, and be unafraid of challenges, and take the opportunity, whatever opportunity that come your way, to develop oneself. And I think this proverb is very true, that in order to be skillful, one has to tackle difficult issues, difficult topics, so that you can draw out the creativity in you, the resourcefulness, and various other qualities that you may have inside you but have not had the chance to come out. Next. So over 2000 years ago, there is a Greek philosopher that says quality is not an act, it is a habit. And this is what I want to stress this afternoon to all of you, that it is the habit that make us who we are 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and even longer. We are basically the product of our habits. So therefore, it is important to cultivate good habits, habits that benefit you, habits that will help you progress. And here is another quote that I like, and it says, "Our habit will either make us or break us." And that's very true, because if you have bad habits, then you're going to reap the outcome of those bad habits. But if you have good habits that serve you, you will reap the rewards as well of good habits. So So it is a fact that we become what we repeatedly do. And that's what habits are. Habits is not something that you do just once in a while. Habits are something that you do repeatedly. Time and time again, you will come back and do the same thing. So that is habit. And I like that very much. Next, so habit number one, all right? So habit number one, as a researcher, I find that it is important to stay curious. There is a lot to be discovered. But in order to do that, one must stay curious and ask good question, ask big question, ask important question. So the power of asking question is truly the catalyst for engaging research. So when you find a good research, especially if you look into the stories behind each of the Nobel Prize, be it chemistry or physics or physiology and medicine or even economics, you'll find that there is at the beginning a question, and they went about answering the important question. So habit number one is about staying curious and asking question, important question. Next, and here I like another quote from a famous physicist, astrophysicist. Unfortunately, he passed away recently, and he says that you got to look up at the stars and not down at your feet. You got to ask yourself and never lose the sense of wonder. You must always try on a daily basis to approach life and your work or your research with childlike curiosity and ask questions. I think that's a very important habit to have as a researcher. Always ask good question, important question, probing question, and insightful questions. Next, habit number two. Well, habit number two is about waking up early. You need to start your day early, but also if I were to translate it into the realm of research, it also means that you need to take the first step in doing something. If you start early, if you are the early bird on certain important methodology or important technique, then you have the chance to make an impression on the community, on what you can offer in this particular area. So always try to be the early bird. But it definitely is very useful to start your day early. Set your alarm clock before the sunrise. That is something I do. And this is my habit too, to start the day early. Set my alarm clock always before the sun rise. Okay, next. And here I like this quote. It says, "The time just before dawn contains the most energy of all hours of the day." I find that very true, and I guess by nature I am an early riser, and therefore an early riser is an early doer. And it is important to make it a point to start the day early, because then you have a lot in front of you. Okay, next. And here is another very nice proverb is that says, "The opportunity that God sends does not wake up him who is asleep." So if you're sleeping, you might miss opportunity. Next. Habit number three. All right. Habit number three is about mental workout. I find that a lot of successful people in research, but of course in other areas of life too, they have this habit of mental workout of plans. And in their mind, they already work out the steps and the structures and the different resources that they need. And it is important to have that mental workout. It's important to form mental images or processes or pictures, but it should also include the possible failures. It would not be beneficial if you do not think about failures, because failures occur every time. If you look for failures, you will not be disappointed. So always bear in mind this possibility of failures and dwell in it, and mentally work out how you are going to deal with it. Meaning to say that if this method don't work out, what would you do next, right? So next slide. So I like this. It says here, this quote, it says, we should always project our thoughts ahead of us at every turn and have in mind every possible eventuality instead of only the usual course of event. Never take the world as being run on an automatic mode. It doesn't. You need to understand that things may go wrong. All right. Murphy's law strikes every time and every day. So always think about what you need to do, but also think about the possible reversal of events. And this again, I like to quote from this philosopher Seneca, who said, all the terms of our human lot should be before our eyes, meaning to say that we must think about everything that we are about to do, the steps, the resources, and the failures as well. And one of the things the philosophers practice is premeditatio malorum, meaning to say the premeditation of evil. It doesn't mean negative thinking. It means that one has to somehow experience what it's like if certain things go south, go the wrong way. How is one going to react to it? What sort of thing? That means they allow the emotion to run over them. So it could be, in the case of a researcher, it could be a certain experiment that didn't go as planned, results didn't come out as well, or certain your manuscript got rejected, the conference abstract got rejected. What will you do? You need to think about this. You need to mentally prepare yourself for different eventualities. So mental workout is critical. This is a very important habit to have. Next. So it says, my top piece of advice is to stay organized. You must have all these processes and structures in place. It all starts with the mind. How true. Next. Habit number 4. Okay, habit number 4 again is very crucial in research, and that is identify prominent topics. Don't be the background noise in your field, because as the number of papers over the world grow and grow in a particular topic, if you are not working on something that will grab attention, then unfortunately you will be part of the background noise in any field. And you got to think carefully about that. Do I want to be a background noise, or do I want to be something? Do I want my work to stand out? And if you want it, you got to identify first what will make this work stand out. Okay, so nothing like the run of the mill. You got to think carefully. You need to identify prominent topics. Next. So you need to develop a keen mind for what will be prominent in the future. So in a way, you know what is important today as well as yesterday. But what would be important in this field of yours 6 months from now or 1 year from now? How will you build on something that is already hot? You need to think about what you can add on, what sort of additional things you can add on, and how you can add value to something that's already out there. It is important for you to think about that. You need to develop it. It doesn't come overnight. You need to develop a keen mind for that. You also need to have a keen understanding of the fundamental drivers for a research topic, like why is lithium ion battery so important? What are the factors? What are the challenges? And what are some of the driving forces for replacing the ion battery? And what are the technological challenges that goes into replacing the or having an alternative to the lithium ion battery and so on. And you need to also nurture a broad view of the field, because almost anything in the technological world that you see today are part of systems. So you need to understand systems. So it's not just the lithium ion battery, but the entire system of where clean energy, efficient energy comes in. And you need to develop that view over time. Next, uh, habit number five. Habit number five is about master the art of prioritizing tasks. You will have many tasks every day. You need to make sure that you attend to what matters the most. So things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. So the unimportant must not take the place of the most important. That is crucial. And that has to be practiced on a daily basis. Next. Again, I like this quote. It says, most of us spend too much time on what is urgent, but not enough time on what is important. And you want to make sure that you do not fall under the tyranny of the urgency. All right, do not fall into the tyranny of the urgent. So next, habit number six. Habit number six is important too, because it is about self-care. You must have a healthy level of self-care. Of course, it means a self-assessment too. You need to spend time reflecting, reviewing the day and how you react to different things, and not be too hard on yourself, and take opportunities to celebrate success. I think here in the Asian culture, we do not uh, celebrate success enough. We are too modest, perhaps, by our culture. I think it's important to celebrate success. So have a healthy level of self-care. Look after yourself well, especially during this COVID period. Next. So as I said before, it's important to take time for yourself, and find clarity, because when you spend time by yourself and for yourself, you'll find that certain things become clearer. And that's important as a researcher. You want to block out the noises, you need to block out a lot of things, and you need to have a calm and peaceful mind in order to find clarity. And that's important habit to have on a daily basis, in fact. And the most important relationship is the one that you have with yourself. So do not neglect yourself. Sometimes as researchers, we are too busy running after the project goals and all that, and may not have enough time to care for our own self. And therefore, burnout is also something that affects researchers. In fact, increasingly, more and more researchers are feeling the burnout. They feel demoralized, and sometimes they feel totally exhausted. And if you are feeling that you're heading in that direction, it is important to find time for yourself, restore some clarity, and and then maybe regain some energy as well. And one of the things I like to say is come apart and rest a while, or you will come apart. It's a play of words, but indeed it is so true that unless we find rest for ourselves, we may do our body and mind harm. Okay, next. Okay, we are coming to the end now. So habit number 7 is about forming effective collaboration network. And how true it is. The key word in research today is together. We have to do things together more and more, interdisciplinary and also multidisciplinary. Next. So collaboration is important because it often turns a good idea into a great one. And so by sharing, by talking, by looking at different perspectives, you can turn what is already a good idea into a great one. And additional mind power always help to polish up and sharpen ideas, and sharing ideas always opens up new possibilities. And I know that a lot of researchers are always afraid to share ideas because they will say, what if someone that I share the idea to took it and steal it, and then that would be terrible. But you know what? I always say that if you have so many great ideas or good ideas, why not share a bit? Because it is fine. I mean, if it is really truly your own, then the person who listens to it will actually not know the whole part of it, the entire whole of it. He only knows one part of it. So it is all right. And even as a leader of a country, Golda Meir was the prime minister of Israel during the Yom Kippur War, and she said, "I never did anything alone. Whatever that was accomplished in this country was accomplished collectively." So be brave and form collaboration, and never be afraid of people stealing your ideas, because I expect that as good researchers, you should always have ideas. And the next idea is usually better than the previous one anyway. So even if you find that someone stole your idea, your next idea will be better. Next. Finally, all right, and in fact, this is to me the most important. I leave the most important to last. This is growth mindset. I find that a lot of really good researchers have that growth mindset. They have strong resilience. They know that they are growing all the time, and they're unafraid of failures. They bounce back easily because they know what they're capable of, and they're not greatly affected by any setback. Of course, they may take 1 day or 2 days to recover, but they always bounce back, right? So it is true that, in fact, our intelligence, creative abilities, and character are things that we can improve in meaningful ways, and we should have that confidence to do so. Next. Yeah, this is a nice quote. It says, most startup founders are refused funding by venture capitalists in the late 20th century. It means in the 1990s. They were told that their ideas were incomprehensible and non-profiteering, but the people behind these ideas have the urge to keep on going, and their success is now clear for everyone to see. Next. And that's the story of the Facebook, the Google, and PayPal. These are companies we know very, very well. And at one stage, they were rejected by venture capitalists. So never be discouraged. And if you believe in something, continue to press on. Next. So here is another wonderful quote from someone that needs no introduction. It says, "Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." That's important. He knows that he is not done with. He knows that he is still growing, and that growth mindset is critical. And there's another saying that says, fall down 7 times, get up 8 times. Okay, all right. So that's important to note. Next, and here is another icon of the NBA, and he said that he has failed many times, missed over 9,000 shots. He lost 300 games. And for 26 times, he was trusted to do something important for the team, and he failed. And he failed many times again, over and over. But precisely because of his failures, he learned what it is to succeed now. And I think that is so true. So never be, always have that growth mindset in you. And that's important, as I can see in whether you're a sportsman or a politician or a researcher, having a growth mindset is a wonderful habit to have and inculcate. Next. So let me just end my presentation by saying that excellence is a daily habit, and we are the product of our habit. And if we strive for excellence, let this be something that happens on a daily basis. And we have to build that habit into our lives, because it will serve us very well indeed. Excellence is a daily habit. Make it a point to put excellence in all that you do, and all that you say in your interactions with each other. So with that, thank you all so much. The next slide is just to say thank you for all your kind attention. So happy to take any questions.
That was a really informative talk. Thank you, Professor Khor, for such an insightful talk. Now we'll open the question and answer session. But before that, since I'm already here, so I'll ask a question. So I've seen people, Prof, they are my peers who have published articles in lots of journals, but these are not very high ranked journals. Whereas what I'm looking for is like something in natures or science. So does it really matters like to have a paper in natures or or is it the quantity that matters?
Well, yes, Anup, thanks for the question. I feel that it is important to go for good journals, and certainly one should go for the top 10% if you can, and always make it a point to aim for the top, but it doesn't necessarily have to be nature.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, uh, some people believe that nature journal is overrated, and many they may publish there, but they do not get good citation. So citation is the other side of it, and you may actually, and I've seen many cases of researchers who publish in let's say a bit modest journals, but get good citation, very strong citation. And so perhaps another way of looking into where you publish is to also look at the main body of researchers in that particular field. Where do they publish? So that you're able to then reach out to the community that does roughly the same thing as you, so that your outreach is better.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prof. Another question I have. I'll be finishing my PhD soon, like in July next year, and I'm thinking of applying for postdocs. Do you think it's right time to apply for postdoc, even I have not submitted my thesis, or is it shall I wait after I finish my PhD?
Well, this is a common issue confronting or facing most PhD student. My advice is that you should not wait. You should proceed to apply as many possibilities as you can, because the time taken to for your thesis examination may be 3-4 months, and that's precisely the kind of time needed to process the postdoc application as well. And this is also a good way of getting a sense of the kind of reception that you get
Yeah.
for your area of work. I know of many PhD students who, because of their topic and because of their excellent track record, even during their PhD studies, they were offered the position even before their PhD were confirmed. Of course, there could be some indication already that the examiners have no serious reservation about so it's a matter of the university going through the due process, and so these people are hired on that basis. So yes, my advice is don't wait, proceed, because you're going to learn from sending your application out and getting feedback and so on. And who knows, even from the first stage, second stage interview, you might learn a bit of what it is like in your next phase.
Mhm. Okay, so I'll hand over this session to Shantanu and Yanjan now for moderating the question and answer session. Shantanu.
Professor Khor, thank you so much for that talk. So I'll start off with some questions asked by the attendees. Firstly, it's more of a technical. Would you be okay with sharing these slides with us?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, yeah, great. So maybe Sean and anyone else who is willing to look at the slides, we will share it to you after the session. The next question comes from Ethan Lim. He says, thank you, Professor Kaur, for the nice presentation. I'd like to know what and how would you advise an independent researcher who has lost the confidence and wonder in his or her research topic?
Well, I think, I mean, at this stage, it is important to perhaps rediscover, and ask yourself some hard question like, are there other aspects of research that I'm interested in? Yes, you are right. In some researchers, and I've seen that as well, where the passion is not quite there anymore. The confidence, of course, if you lose some of the passion, the confidence go as well. And perhaps the setback may affect the person in more ways than one. And that is a reality. We all face that. And my advice is to get to know yourself. Perhaps your experience in research could take you into a different path, a different direction. But like I said, always have that growth mindset in you. Exercise that habit. Know that you are someone with great potential, but it may not necessarily be in a particular direction, right? I mean, it's like, um, we must not set ourselves for failure, meaning to say that I only want to get to this place, or be in this position, and if I don't, then I fail. That to me is not advisable. It's a bit like in selection of school. And I know that having spent time in Singapore, many Singaporean parents, kind of drill into their children that, oh, you must go into school A. School A is the most important in Singapore. If you get into this school, your future will be bright, and that kind of thing. And setting things up like that is usually not so helpful. I believe more in, as I said, in habit number 8, that one should always explore what you can develop yourself into, to the fullest potential, to your fullest potential, but it may not necessarily be a particular position or a particular area. In research today, there are plenty of opportunities open up. It may not necessarily just be as academic. It could be in the industry. It could be in intellectual property. It could be in research administration. It could be in publishing house like World Scientific Publishing or many others. So research basically equip one with a lot of important analytical skills, right? So always have that in mind. And of course, it is, as I said, important to spend time with yourself. Do not let yourself be burnt out. Okay.
Thank you, Prof. The next question is from Wei Long Kon. And the question is, thank you, Prof, for the nice talk. Identifying prominent topics somehow is difficult. Do you have any more specific suggestions? Thanks.
Well, identifying something is hard work. You need to spend time. There is no shortcut. You have to really, ask yourselves: is it this or is it that? And it's never a bullseye sort of approach. And so when I say identify prominent topics, it means that, let's say in your first attempt after studying the field, you think it is X, but after a while you realize that it's not X, it could be Y that is more important, or Z, or whatever. Yeah. But over time you become better at this, so it is important to follow the progression. And there's a lot of benefit in following progression. I mean, I have a habit of following the progress of researchers, following the progress of sports teams as well, whether it's the EPL or various NBA, and various things, because there's a lot to learn about this, and maybe you may, you learn a lot by saying, by just playing a game with yourself to say, oh, let's say in a World Cup, Germany and Brazil, who do you think will win? And you may say, okay, I analyze it, in this way or that way, and I think, Brazil will win. But turns out Germany won, and then you ask, and then you check, and then you analyze it and say, why did Germany win instead of Brazil? And then you learn something, right? I mean, it's the same with anything, and sports is a very good example. I mean, I follow cricket as well, and I'm sure many of you do. And whether you follow the IPL or the Test series and all that, you always learn something when you and then you try to identify good players and that sort of thing. So it's the process. You cannot hit it perfect. It's not a bullseye in your first attempt. It's unrealistic to expect bullseye in your first attempt.
Thank you, Prof. Next question is from Ernest Tang. The question is, hi, Professor Michael. Thanks for the very wonderful and insightful seminar. I would like to know that, yes, although it is all right to share some of our ideas or techniques, however, should these researchers uh, should they not cite us in their work? Otherwise, we will lose our confidence in sharing. So, how do we keep going to share ideas with others again then, like, if they don't cite us?
Well, I mean, I take it that citation means your publication, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess citation is something that you cannot control. It's for them to decide whether to cite you or not. But of course, there's nothing stopping you from politely highlighting your work that is relevant to their paper, and say that there is this, and I know of friends who did that, in a very nice and polite way by saying, "Oh, I came across your paper published in journal ABC. It's a very good paper and I enjoy reading it. Congratulations on getting this work done," and blah, 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 And by the way, one of my past work is relevant to what you're doing, and you might want to look it out, and then you might take the proactive steps of sharing what you have done, which is relevant, which he could cite in the future, and but saying it in a very nice way and not accusing him of intentionally ignoring your work and being biased or whatever, but just politely saying, "Oh, I think this paper that I published 3 years ago could help answer some or provide some additional data that make your model more complete, or something like that." And who knows, you might make a nice friendship from that encounter. And I know there are people who proactively does that with me too. When I publish my work, they will write to me and say, "Oh, I'd like to share with you my work too, because I find that it is somewhat similar," and that kind of thing. And I politely say thank you very much, and I think it's good. We should see ourselves as members of a large global community, and even though we all want to be successful, but it's not necessary that we view everyone as a rival or a competitor.
Right. Thank you. Next question is from Sean Glidet. I'm sorry if I have pronounced that incorrectly. The question is, thank you for the talk, Professor. What is the healthy level of self-care?
Well, yeah, that is something that you got to determine yourself. I mean, if you feel, I mean, of course, the important thing is you got to avoid both extreme, right? I mean, a total self neglect, and then being narcissistic and not care too much about yourself, and spending all the time in front of a mirror or in front of your handphone camera, that kind of thing. I think it's important to let's say ask yourself, have I spent enough time by myself, right? And maybe you might say, "Hey, I think it would be a good idea to just spend an hour by myself." Whether it's reading a book or just uh, going for a walk by myself, and or even a light jog, be with nature. You can go to various places in Singapore that have, beach, the sea, the nature. Of course, NTU itself is wonderful, right? There's a lot to see, and all that. So I can't say how much time, but you yourself will know that if you have spent enough time by yourself, by the effect that you feel a certain calmness, a certain clarity, or a certain refresh, you feel refreshed. You feel that you're less anxious, and of course self-care also means that you take time off, maybe treat yourself to a nice meal, or you cook yourself a nice meal, something like that. Of course, don't indulge, and because that would then create other issues. um, there are different ways to be nice to yourself, you know. Of course, sleeping early is also another nice way of looking after yourself by, you know, making sure that, okay, I think I've done enough for today, and therefore I'm going to sleep at 10 p.m. instead of midnight, for example, right? So that is also a one way of self-care. Or another way is that, hey, you know, I think, yeah, I've been working very, very hard lately. I'm going to spend Saturday afternoon watching a movie that I've been wanting badly to watch, but have no time of. I've been putting it off. So this Saturday, I'm going to watch that movie or something like that. These are just some examples.
Thank you, Prof. Our next two questions come from Kim Tiamulur. First question is, I think if our work is beneficial to mankind, we can be less petty about crediting whose idea it was originally. For example, is a patent for COVID vaccine more important than its effects in saving lives? However, it is understandable that researchers are concerned about recognition as this job is their only means of living. So, any comments on this, Professor?
Um, yeah, well, I think it's not. I mean, it is difficult to want to demand recognition, and probably it's not the best way to say you need to acknowledge this or you need to acknowledge that. But I feel that uh, one has to keep at it for a while, you know, at something, and of course also be of service to people. That's important. And so it is an investment. So investment means you put in something and then you don't expect immediate result. The result could come 1 year later, 2 years later, or even 5 years later. But it's something that you keep at it and you continue to service it. And and yes, it may be a little disappointing if you feel that the person should recognize you or give recognition to certain things that you have done or said, but did not. I think we have to all learn to move on. I think moving forward, to me, is a very, very important thing to do. A lot of miserable people are those who keep looking at the past. Yeah, people who are miserable are often people who spend too much time looking at the past and say, "Oh, he did this to me," or "He did that to me," or "He did not do this for me," or "He did not do something else," or whatever. I think healthy self care also means having a healthy perspective and outlook to life, and being able to move on is critical. And develop a big heart and be a big person to be able to move on, and knowing and being confident that better things are ahead of you, actually. Especially for all of you, you're all so young, mostly below 30s or 35, thereabout. So yeah, it's critical to have that mindset.
Right.
Yeah, and even if someone don't acknowledge you, it's all right. Shake it off and then move on. And just treat it as a donation for the poor.
Thank you, Prof. The next question by them is, how can we expand our circle of collaborators more effectively than conference and papers, which is the old school traditional way?
Well, yes, you're right. The thing in the past is that you have conferences and all that, and today maybe things are done differently. But whatever it is, I believe, and this is from my own experience, that if you take the first step to organize something, you will reap some reward. And I remember that even as a young faculty many years ago, I see the importance of organizing conferences for people. So I join up with colleagues to organize conferences, and that's how the circle grows. People would know me because I write to them, and of course they like it when I say, "Oh, you are the invited speaker, and we like to invite you." And better still, we'll pay your airfare to come to Singapore and that sort of thing. And those were the days, and that's how it grows, and you keep up the contact. But of course, there's a limit to everything, and you cannot be in contact with 100 or 200 people. So you got to be selective, and you got to know which are the ones that will you will keep as a long-term contact. Yeah, so being involved in service is critical in one's development in research. So, but today maybe it's webinar, reaching out to people for webinar, and it's always a quid pro quo, something for something. You got to offer them something.
Right. Thank you, Prof. Our next question is by Siang Dai. The question is, I'm a part-time PhD student. Sometimes I feel struggling to balance research and working, since research requires a dedicated time period to dive deep, but working on a job is all about deliverables. Any suggestions for a balance or time management? Thank you.
Yeah, that is a really tough situation, and I've met people in similar situation, and to me, I think planning is important. If you plan ahead well, you need to do that extra bit of work to plan. Uh, and I suppose for work, if you have a boss who understands the situation you're in, it's not going to be, forever. It's maybe part-time PhD could be for 4 years or 4.5, maybe even 5. But it is something that you can do proactively by discussing with your boss, and of course also with your colleagues. Help them understand your circumstance, and there, look, there's always gaps. There's always gaps where you could do something back for them if they do something for you. And mind the gaps. Make use of the gaps. Whether it's the gap in time, there's a 1 hour to fill or half an hour to fill, which you can do something. Do it. And again with the research work at NTU, again it's all about planning and planning ahead. And I don't know the dynamics in this particular research, but if it is a research group, then perhaps it requires some coordination with fellow group members, right? To try to dovetail the different aspect of the work, and to discuss with your supervisor. Um, uh, and if you plan well, then you could, for part-time PhD, you could have, let's say, a dedicated week. That means, you are able to discuss with your boss, you discuss with your colleagues, so that you can have a dedicated week for your research, which may help to speed things up if you find that the research for your PhD is lagging. And look, a part-time PhD is always a sacrifice, and if you have a family, it is doubly tough. But I know of people who make use of their holidays, for example, to catch up on their research work, or public holidays sometimes, to catch up. But again, without neglecting your health and all that. And if the person is married, then yeah, you got to do something for your spouse after you get your PhD. Yeah, but whatever it is, a lot of it has to do with planning and careful planning and some understanding as well from colleagues and group members.
Thank you, Prof. Our next question is from Li Ying. And the question is, thank you, Prof. Khor, for the great advice. I understand that this talk may be geared towards researchers in the hard sciences. However, would you have any different advice for researchers in the humanities field, for example, psychology?
Well, I mean, we are in a stage where, you know, there's increased multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary areas where different skills and different sets of research skills are needed. So whether it's soft science or hard science, I think they are all important for research. So I think it's a matter of proactively exploring, you know, uh, the PhD in psychology could be used in many different ways. And I would urge, you know, the person to proactively explore,
All right.
because there will always be something for someone who is having a particular skill. That I think the key thing is develop the skill first. Having a skill in doing something, whether it's analytical and all that, you know, you will find that it will be needed. And of course, you could also find time to develop that particular need. Yeah, find time to kind of, in a way, market yourself, you know, to emphasize that this is where I'm needed, or this is what I can do, and always flip it around, right? Instead of waiting for things to drop on your lap, reach out and start exploring. What would be need? What are their needs? So be very focused on people's needs. You know, the company's needs, or the industry's needs, or even a research group's needs. There will always be needs, because, you know, there will always be gaps. And the important thing is that you got to train yourself, develop yourself, to be able to fill those gaps and feed the needs. Then you'll be, you know, you'll be wanted.
Right. The next question is from Gladys Hung. The question is, hi, Prof. Thanks for the great talk. For those who have not been early risers and kind of work better at night, do you still strongly recommend to switch to waking up early too? I think this is a question for a lot of us, not just.
Well, I guess it takes time, but you know, the body is amazing, you know, because our body is built in a certain way, and you know, you can check out the research papers, but it's, you know, to me, I find that it's true that we are made to wake up together with the sun, and not many hours after the sun has gone out. So I guess it does take some time. I do know that even you know, in my younger days, I'm not known to wake up early, right? I mean, my usual waking time is closer to 10 a.m. rather than 7. But over time, it helps. Yeah. But the important thing is to be intentional. Be intentional, and then take steps to do that. alarm clocks is a wonderful invention that if you set the alarm, you slowly. So the important thing is to take small steps first. Don't, if you're someone who regularly wakes up like 10 a.m., right, and you feel that you need that, right? So don't set the alarm straight away to 6:30 like me, because you may say, oh, I heard the speaker say that he set his to 6:30 and I'm going to do the same. But my 6:30 is a result of many years of coming down from waking up at 9:30, then down to 6:30. So I would urge you to take small steps. If you know yourself that you're waking up at 10 o'clock or 9:30, then maybe you want to set it to 8:30. And then after that, move to 8. And then after that, move to 7:30 and so on. Take small steps.
Thank you, Prof. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Our next question is from Gao Yu. He says, thanks for the wonderful talk, Prof. Khor. We know that in the journey of research, we might face manuscript rejection at some point. Would you like to elaborate more out of curiosity on how one quickly might bounce back from the setbacks whenever one faces such scenario?
Yeah, sure. That's an important question, and like I say, if you practiced premeditatio malorum, you can imagine your reaction. Imagine that you just got the rejection email from the editor, and which I have been receiving many times. It's never nice, but if you allow yourself to go through that and then recollect yourself and then see how you can address the different aspect of it, right? And I always find that if one were to look at it from a more positive viewpoint, every rejection is an opportunity to make the paper even better. And that has always been my experience. Every time my paper is rejected, I find that I'm able to write a much better paper the next time, Of course, I have papers that are rejected multiple times, but that's okay. As I said, I'm here to share with you that, you can survive multiple rejection. I have a work which my PhD student are both very proud of, but it was rejected at least 3 times by 3 different journals, But sometimes certain works are such that people don't see it, and it challenged us to make ourselves clearer. So we did many things. We changed the title, we tweaked the title, we went back and add more results in, we took the comments, those that we find that are helpful, we work some more, and then we submit again, right? And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we find that, hey, the additional work that we do has then made the paper much better, that we think that we can now send to an even higher ranked journal, which we did. And on a few occasions, the paper was accepted. So that's the reward. And when that happens, we get a lot of satisfaction out of it. It's like, we could have got it at this level, but now we go even higher simply because we didn't give up and we persevere. And I am a strong believer that every rejection is an opportunity, and you must tell yourself that every rejection is an opportunity to do better. And indeed, if you set yourself to do it that way, it will be. And in a few occasions, you could be rewarded by like as I shared before, a paper published in a better journal.
Uh, Our next question is from Maria Marin Anthony. The question is, hi, Prof. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. Especially during this pandemic, being away from family is a common issue causing depression for foreign researchers in Singapore. Do you suggest any way to get out of it?
Well, of course, you could try to have some distraction. Oftentimes, you need to distract yourself intentionally. Maybe do something that would take away that homesickness, if you like. But of course, today with video calls and all that, you get to see. So in a way, it's not as bad. But you need to kind of, sometimes it helps to distract yourself, and also remind yourself that this is perhaps something that you just need to endure, and endurance builds certain character in us, and I know it's tough, but allowing oneself to slip into depression is never a good thing, never. And therefore it is a fight, even, it is a fight within yourself, right? To not allow yourself to slip into any negative state of mind. So always find other things to do, and some kind of distraction is so good, maybe pick up a hobby, of course, a healthy, positive hobby that will not do you harm. Something like that, right? And it will pass. I believe so, and it'll help also in better understanding of what life is about. Yeah. I believe we all know, no matter what age we are, we all have to learn what it means to live, what life is about. And life is actually about many things. One of them is to be able to persevere, to endure, to bear certain things, to bear certain burden, or to forbear some things. It's all there. And it's part of growing. And I think one has to view it that way. That there is going to be good outcome. But of course, during the time, it's never pleasant. It's like a visit to a dentist, and I have my teeth fixed on many occasions, and some of them quite serious. And it's never a pleasant thing, 2 hours, 3 hours on a wheel on a dentist chair is never nice. And having people giving you pain, it's not a nice feeling. But I keep telling myself, think about the outcome, bear with it, just bear with it. Yeah. But of course, that's not a good and that cannot be compared to missing your family or anything like that. But the principle is there, that there are many things in life that we are asked to bear with it.
Right. Thank you so much, Professor. Those were that's it for the Q&A part. I just would like to round it off with a comment from Srirag, who said, Professor, thank you very much for sharing the practices to follow to become a great researcher. This session is really useful to me, and I share the sentiment as well. Thank you so much, Professor. It was a wonderful experience interacting with you. Over to Anup.
Thank you, Prof. Khor, for an enlightening and entertaining talk on the essential habits of highly successful researchers. We appreciate having this mysterious area clarified. We really appreciate for giving us your time, and please accept our sincere thanks.
Thank you. Take care. And it's my pleasure. Take care and stay safe.